good morning, evening, or afternoon, whichever one's going on for you at this current point in time. Today we have an orange towel because that's as close as I can get to red. We're talking about Milwaukee today. This is the fuel version of the oscillating tool or multi-tool. It is the 2526-20, and I currently have a 3.0 in it. And impressively enough, I'm recording this after I already did the stuff, so well done, Milwaukee. Your M12 survived down to 1 bar, including the stuff I did at the person's apartment as well as my own. So pretty decent. Now, to set the premise for the video, I am going to be breaking it into 3 parts. One where it's just talking about the specs, comparing everything. Again, I will have timestamps for everything, so if you're just trying to get straight into the action, you can click there. But it's going to be first taking a look at the tool by itself. I do have an attachment. They are different kinds of blades by DREMEL. I'll talk about those in a second. That'll be one part. And then the middle part will be actually comparing it head to head with a hyper tough corded multi-tool from Walmart. Again, a lot of people are not going to invest in an entire battery system just for one cut. Some people just make 1 or 2 cuts and then they throw it in their pantry or their basement and they never see the tool again. So what is the difference between paying $80 or $70 for something in a department store versus potentially $150 to $200 for something corded? I know these things can go for $150, maybe $130 depending on where you go, but some people only want to pay $50, $70, in that range, and we'll see whether or not they're getting the most bang for their buck or if they're shortchanging themselves long term. And because winter is upon us, we are currently in the middle of fall, which means everybody is weatherizing, winterizing, and insulating their homes. Everybody is spraying foam everywhere so that the rats don't get in, the roaches, ants, everything that's trying to come inside to protect itself against the winter. You need to make sure that you're not only energy efficient in terms of what's inside the house, but that you're not letting anything in. So everybody's spraying up foam, and these blades are going to be doing some serious cleaning. So I'm going to be cleaning up somebody else's apartment because it just kind of foamed everywhere and it looks a little crazy. So I said, hey, let me use my tool. I'll clean it up, make it look a little better. Again, I don't have permission to be, cutting in and putting new drywall or sheetrock or anything like that, but at least it'll look definitely better than when, it started, at least now. And I'm also going to be using the multi-tool to clean up some foam in my own apartment. I understand that most people will have some kind of handsaw or they'll grab a utility blade. Some people will just pick out one of these pocket knives. Again, this is probably the only thing I have from Snap-on because I intend to live in an apartment rather than under a bridge. Sorry, Snap-on, your stuff is kind of pricey. Again, you and Festool are, a little too high for me, but let's get into it. Now, if you're already in the M12 line and you decide to just get the bare tool, what it comes with is one standard blade. It is a wood blade. In all complete honesty, I would have appreciated Milwaukee sending the wood with embedded nails, just in case you happen to go through something in your first trial run. It doesn't kind of ruin the teeth and ruin the experience for you. But you know what? It is what it is. The fact that it's included in the box and most people are going to be using this for drywall or wood anyways, not a horrible thing. Again, I've heard good things about Milwaukee's blades. Kind of mixed reviews about their carbide blades, but again, it is included. Also, besides, being a multi-tool, it does do other things than cut. It does also sand. So it comes with a sanding pad. You would secure this to the tool itself, and then it does come with 5 pads. 1 60 grit, 1 80 grit, 2 120 grits, and then a 240 grit. So a pretty decent arrangement or assortment so that you can get into some light sanding if you need to out of the box. I think the fact that Milwaukee included it, pretty good. In order to install your blade, because most people are going to be cutting with this tool anyways, you're going to pull up on this lever. You're going to unthread your bolt. If you're just going to add a blade, you don't have to pull that bolt out. You really just have to pull it out if you're going to be using the sanding pad, because it's completely locked in, as opposed to where you can just slip this over the top with the opening. But just to show you, there are 4 magnets on the head, as well as some studs that lock into that bit. So when you put your blade in, again, they're not the most powerful magnets, so don't think you're going to go dancing and they're not going to come off, but it will hold your bit in place until you can get it threaded in. add your bolt. And then bring your lever down. That's not going anywhere. Once you secure it, if it's too close to the body, it starts to burn while it's cutting. Careful for that. With no battery, the tool comes in at just over 11 inches. With no battery, it comes in at 2 pounds, 5.4 ounces. The head of the tool is just under 3.9 inches across. The thickness of the handle is just over 2.3 inches. I am going to bring down the volume for you, but I am going to do a sound test. I'm going to do 2 samples, one at its minimal speed and then one at max speed, and we'll see how bad it is. What kind of Milwaukee tool would it be if you didn't show off other Milwaukee tools to go with it, right? But here's a weakness that the M12 line has, and that is the power delivery system relies completely on these little prongs that are in here. Anything happens to those, maybe they snap off and end up inside of your battery, or they just happen to crack off while removing a battery or putting one on, and you no longer have your tool working. That is something that is completely possible, and that's why you might go with the M18 version over this one. However, you wouldn't want to pay extra money. The M18 one is more expensive, and they both do 10,000 to 20,000 oscillations anyways, so it's the same exact tool, just a 12 volt versus an M18. This tool can actually stand up as opposed to the M18 version, which has the same issue that the M18 angle grinder has. This fuel angle grinder, as you can see, the battery terminal, or where the battery sits, is at an angle, which means in order for you to have this tool, you have to lay it down when you're not using it. Now, angle grinders understandable, but when it comes to cutting, I like to stand my tools up, do my cut, and then stand it back up so it's easy to grab. Instead of having to reach down for it, I can just passively grab it and keep cutting. So it's all about how you like to work. If you lay your tools down, maybe go for the M18 if you like spending extra money. Otherwise, I'm not paying extra for the same tool. Now, since we're turning on the tool and there is a light, the M18 version does, I believe, have 3 LEDs, so there is a 180 field of light versus the center LED on the M12. If lighting on a tool is more important to you, the M18 does have more. However, if that's not a factor for you, then it's still a very bright light. Because I am a man of the people, I know exactly what you want. You want the cheapest thing, right? In that case, a 1.5 battery is probably what most people are going to run into the store and get if they need an extra battery, unless they need a lot more. And then the standard size, you can typically pick up a 3 or 4 amp hour at 2 packs. Sometimes they're on sale from anywhere from $80 to maybe 120, 130. So it's all about shopping smarter. But for me, I like a more stable tool. I know that if I'm going to be standing my tools up, which is what I do for mine, once I put them on, I know my tool is not going to go anywhere. All right, now that all the specs are out of the way, last thing I'm going to say is that in the video, you will see me using a scraper to get through the foam. I am using, of course, the flexible scraper. It's much easier around curves and angles. I haven't really found a need to use the rigid one, but they do come in a 2-pack. The model number is MM620U. That is universal fit for multi-tools or oscillating tools. And I love that they have a double pattern, so if you need them to be a little bit longer, you can use the bottom one. If you need them a little shorter, you can use the top. Haven't really found a need for both, but definitely this is the one I go to. So let's get to cutting. Check it out. Okay, so the tool actually timed out there. We are about 43 seconds when it timed out. But again, it's better that it protects your tool versus allowing you to force anything too tight. The wood is actually pressing it in, but the cube itself is free. So definitely a bit of a skill thing. And again, I try to move as much human air out of it. And this seems to be a lot more reasonable in terms of power and in terms of use. So I'm going to call the first block a practice run. The second block is going to be 42.14 seconds. And just to be fair, I am going to go back to the 1.5 just to make sure that it was more of a performance thing than a human error issue. So 1.5 is going back in. To be clear, focus, 1.5. Oh, stalled again. Holy. So apparently with the 1.5, it's got a bit of a issue. I don't want to be the guy to say it's that bad, but it's that bad. If you're going to spend 20 bucks on this, Walmart has an updated version of this that is $20, and it's basically this exact same tool. They just made it black with different lettering, but it's still hyper tough and it's still trash. So just smoking, steaming for 3 very superficial cuts along the edge is not something I would recommend anybody invest in, especially if you're cutting things that are harder wood or treated wood. Just save yourself the money, buy a much better tool. Milwaukee is blowing this thing out of the water, but again, given the price, it makes sense. Can definitely understand why they would have concerns about things getting in. Yeah, that wall's rotted apart. Yeah. Holy. Okay. See what we can do at least. So carefully, without breaking any of the tile, nice and clean, we're trying to make this as flush as possible. Now, I don't know if he's going to put one of these old vinyls like this, or if he's just going to make everything drywall, if he's going to put sheetrock or not, I'm not sure. But, damn, this person got the, I guess, the landlord special. Now, we did run into a little bit of a problem, and that is that if I make this as flush as possible, let me try to see if I can get this at the top of that hole right here. Let me see if I can get a light in here. So clearly there's some space behind that wall, right where my finger is right here. And it's possible that little critters can get in through there. One at the top right in there, right here, and there was a bit of a weak spot to the bottom right over here. So we definitely don't want critters in, but we also don't want this whole foaming situation to happen again, because this is kind of a weird spot to be in. I'm going to make this clean. I'm going to try to clean this up as much as possible, but if I cut out the rest of this foam, there's a bigger chance of critters getting in. So let's make this pretty and just move on to the next one. This either makes for an extremely funny video or the last time you hear from me. Keep in mind, this is not OSHA approved, so do not put ladders near stairs. That is not a very safe thing to do. That being said, we got some more work to do. Because in my own apartment, I had to give myself a landlord special. And the reason is, when they did the roof recently, they decided to try to pull this pipe out of the wall, not knowing, and not being told by the landlord, that this pipe runs down from the roof of the house to the actual basement. Therefore, they destroyed it at the top, in the center, and at the bottom of the wall. And that is all for the M12 review. Personally, do you like it? Do you not? Do you have a multi-tool from a different company? Let me know what you like about yours versus maybe what you saw in this video or what you've seen as far as other people's videos on this tool. And until next time, work smart.